radio show where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Laurie Fitz, and today we are talking about the cool play that's going to be at the Fringe Festival, and it is Revolt of the Beavers. I was told in the last segment that I was just calling it the Revolt. That's the shorthand. The long, full title is Revolt of the Beavers. This is a 1937 Federal Theater production of the children's play about workers who are cast as beavers who are exploited by a cruel and greedy factory owner. Now, we aren't facing cruel and greedy factory or corporate owners these days, are we? Well, with that thought, I'd love to have Chris. Well, I'm first going to introduce everybody who's part of the show today. We have Kit Bix, who has adapted the show. Welcome, Kit.
Hi.
Hi. We have Peter Rachleff, who is the co-executive director of the Eastside Freedom Library.
Glad to be here.
Glad that you are here as well. We have Shannon Twohy. Shannon is the director of the show.
Hi.
Glad you're here. We're going to talk a little bit more about your vision for this and what it's been like to direct this show. We have Zach Holmquist. Zach is a character in the play that is coming to life on the show today.
Good morning.
And he plays the part of Paulo. And we've got Christopher Mogel, who is the associate producer.
Good morning.
Christopher, tell us about how people can get tickets to the show and all that good Fringe stuff.
Well, if you log on to Minnesota Fringe, so mnfringe.org, and look up our show, Revolt of the Beavers, you can order tickets directly online for each of the show nights. And then also, if you want to find us on Facebook, you just look up in the events section, Revolt of the Beavers, and then you'll find all of our information right there. That also includes a link to the Minnesota Fringe site.
Peter, I understand that this show is more than a show. It's giving back. Tell me about that.
The group staging the show has committed to providing 30% of the proceeds to the American Civil Liberties Union. For readers of the Sunday New York Times, a week ago, the Times Magazine had a feature piece on the ACLU and how it's trying to become a grassroots organization in this current historical moment where they're needed. And so this is really a great choice by the creative team to support the ACLU.
And speaking of children, it's wonderful that this is a children's play, but
Right.
the ACLU is
Playing a leadership role
Yeah.
at the border.
And helping to make the connections between the families and children who've been
Yes.
separated. So you're supporting a very good cause by coming to see this play. So two good reasons. You're going to see a great play, and you're going to support the ACLU. Shannon, you are the director of a show that is adapted from the 30s, and you have the chance to work with the writer who's adapting it, and you have a short amount of time to bring that play to life. How has it been to be part of something that's both historical as well as very current right now?
Well, I can say that the process has been delightful. I came onto the project very quickly, and it's just been been a great learning opportunity historically, but then also seeing the similarities between what's going on now. And, history is doomed to repeat itself. And we have this lovely framing device where the show starts out in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. House of Representatives in front of a special committee in 1938. And then we go away from that and bring the play into a mystical land called Beaverland, spearheaded by two children, one the dreamer, the other the realist, their siblings, and how they work together in order to overthrow this chief with a bunch of sad worker beavers. And so then coming into that, it's a play about unity in terms of we're uniting the artists. There's a professor character, so the educators. We're uniting the workers, and we're uniting the children, too. And then there's another sub thing where everybody in Beaverland is 9 years old, including the chief, including everybody. So it's kind of the great equalizer in bringing this group together in the play.
And your own political feelings, how has that played into how you want to bring this art to life?
Well, undeniably so, the similarities between what's happening now are into the play. we talked earlier about unions, about kind of how unions are dissolving. I think it brings back to the current feeling in the theater community about how we need to unite and hold together the people who are working, creating the sets. There's been some stuff where, and this kind of falls more into the Me Too movement, about supporting every aspect of a structure, all of the workers, the playwrights, the artists, the actors, and that becoming one to band together for equality.
So not only the play itself, but the process of developing and creating and performing this has been a way of expressing a need to do things differently, is what I'm hearing.
Right.
And that art can be produced in a more with a more heart of equality.
Yes.
And in case anyone has questions about the title with Beavers in the title, this has nothing to do with that part of the Me Too.
No, so I
wanted to make sure that this isn't children's and children's can come see this.
Exactly. It's about the industrious nature of beavers because they build dams and help the environment. And then also bringing into the play, we have this environmental aspect that Kit has elaborated on. Kit the playwright. Hi, Kit. And so it's kind of bringing us into how many, in the play, the beavers they revolt. They take over the factory.
They just say no.
Yes, exactly.
Enough.
And so then we have to also think about what will happen after the show. What will happen when the beavers do take over the factory, because it's been established that the factory creates pollution, it's detrimental, and then it's also the beavers are not acting in their natural way. You know, they're not using their teeth, so to speak. And so what happens? So what world are we leaving our children? What world are we leaving the children who might come to see this show?
Wonderful. Paulo, tell me about what it's like to be part of this show that may be a little different than shows that you've been in.
Absolutely. So a little bit of background. I had worked with Kit last year for the 2017 production of It Can't Happen Here, directed by Brian Bevel. And I was approached by Kit recently. She had informed me about the show for this year and said, hey, you should come audition. So when I was cast as the role of Paulo, I was really excited to jump on. Paulo, so my character Paulo in the show, he's a 9-year-old, as Shannon said previously. He's one of the kids. He's the dreamer of the siblings, and so his role is really to help work with Oakleaf to inspire the workers to stand up for their rights. And the process has been absolutely wonderful. I've really enjoyed the time for Shannon to be stepping into as director and work with a wonderful cast.
And in our next segment, we'll be reading some sides from that. And I have also been asked to play a role in this, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll have my debut for the Revolt of the Beavers. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and we'll be right back after a short break. Stay tuned for a great show.